Last week, the number 2 player in the 2024 recruiting class committed to be an Ohio State Buckeye. On Saturday, the number 1 player in the same recruiting class decommitted from Ohio State. And when the announcement came out that Dylan Raiola decommitted from Ohio State, it shocked everybody.
You are Locked On Buckeyes, your daily podcast on the Ohio State Buckeyes. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
What is up, Buckeye fans? Welcome back to another episode of Locked On Buckeyes, part of Locked On Podcast Network. I'm your host, Jay Stevens, also the host of the Jay Stevens Podcast. It is Monday, December 19th in the year 2022, and today's episode is brought to you by LinkedIn Jobs. LinkedIn Jobs helps you find the qualified candidates you want to talk to faster. Post your job for free at linkedin.com/lockedoncollege. That's linkedin.com/lockedoncollege to post your job for free. Terms and conditions apply. During this episode, we will discuss if the decommitments and the flipping of recruits is the new norm at the rate that it's going at, or if it's been happening for quite a long time. And we'll discuss Ohio State's loss to North Carolina on Saturday and what went wrong in that game. But before we get to any of that, there was some news that shook numerous Ohio State football fans and many around the college football world when it came out on Saturday around 12 noon Eastern time that Dylan Raiola, the number 1 quarterback in the class of 2024, has decommitted from the Ohio State University. This news shook me. I won't say shook, it shocked me. I won't say it shook me like, oh, I'm shaking in my boots. No. This news shocked me. I was not expecting this to happen at all. Now, I should have probably had a better mindset and proper understanding of the current landscape in college football and just the athlete in general, with them having more information at their fingertips and being more connected with the top recruits in each recruiting class. Maybe it's on me to say, hey, you shouldn't be shocked because this type of thing can happen. And maybe it was my fandom in me when I saw Raiola play the football and when I saw him spin the rock, I said, oh, that boy different. And y'all know Jay don't come on here and say somebody is different unless they different. I said it about Jalen Tuimoloau, that boy different. I said it about Dylan Raiola, and I do believe once he gets to college, many people will say, that boy different, which is why I really thought Ryan Day had hit a home run, knocked it out of the park. Wouldn't say a grand slam because the pen was not put to paper just yet with the national letter of intent, but I really thought Ryan Day knocked it out of the park with this recruitment and getting Raiola to commit when he did. But then after the announcement came out that Raiola decommitted, I did not want to go the easy route to say, it's all because of NIL. That's the only reason. That's why he decommitted. Ohio State's failing in this area. Ohio State's failing in that area. I didn't want to do that because it felt too easy. But I did a little search on the Twitter, and I realized there might be a family tied to a different school, and the timing of a certain family member being retained at a certain school might be why Dylan Raiola decommitted when he did. Let's dig into this one. So, Dylan Raiola decommits, and we talked about this with John Garcia Jr. a few months ago when he brought up Dylan Raiola before Raiola committed to the school. He said, watch out for this kid. He spins the rock like crazy. And we also discussed who his dad is. Because a lot of these players are recruits now. Their dads played college football. Some played in the National Football League. And that's the same way with Dylan Raiola. Raiola's father, Dominic Raiola, played football at the University of Nebraska. He was a consensus All-American in 2000. He won the Remington Award as the best center in college football in 2000 as well. And his jersey was retired by the Nebraska Cornhuskers. He wore number 54. He also played 10-plus years in the National Football League, all of them being for the Detroit Lions. Dominic Raiola's brother, Donovan Raiola, was recently retained as offensive line coach at the University of Nebraska. Now, his brother Dominic did not play football at Nebraska. He played football at Wisconsin, and he also got his first coaching job as an O-line coach at a high school in Hawaii where he was born. He was an intern at Hawaii, was a grad assistant at Notre Dame. He also was an assistant O-line coach for the Bears from 2018 to 2021. Scott Frost hired Donovan Raiola, all these D names. Scott Frost hired Donovan Raiola in 2022. Scott Frost gets fired. Nebraska hires Matt Rule, and Donovan Raiola realizes he might not have a job. He might not be going. He could be a coach that's looking for a new job quickly. I don't think Dylan Raiola would have considered Nebraska even if his uncle was still coaching there and Scott Frost was the head coach. We have seen a track record of Scott Frost not being able to develop quarterbacks, so I don't think that was going to be the move. But when I saw the news that on December the 9th, I believe it was, Donovan Raiola was retained as O-line coach at Nebraska under new coach Matt Rule, and we have all seen what Matt Rule has done at different stops along the way in building college football programs. I think the family tie and the big family culture and heritage, how family is important to those of Hawaiian descent that are from Hawaii, and also I think that the timing of it is why Dylan Raiola's decommitted came down when it did. Because my guess is Dominic, his dad, and Donovan may have talked, and then Dominic Raiola may have talked to his son, Dylan Raiola, and said, "Hey, what do you want to do? Where do you want to go?" I think Matt Rule coming back to college football was a big deciding factor, determining factor, but I do think that family tie, Dominic, his uncle, being there in Nebraska, still the Nebraska fan base being crazy. I do believe the NIL and the endorsement deals that Dylan Raiola can sign in Nebraska will be lucrative. Nebraska sells out every game. I forget how long their sellout streak is, but it's pretty lengthy, especially for a program that has been on the downside of the sport for average or below average football team over the past few years. Dylan Raiola to Nebraska. I'm not saying it's going to happen, but if it does, I'd understand. Not something I would have said months ago. But hey, sometimes things are outside of the coach's control. I'm sure this announcement, the decommitment, shocked the coaches all around Ohio State. But this is the nature of the beast. You have to keep recruiting. You have to keep going after these kids. You have to keep recruiting, keeping relationships, things of that nature. There are also times there are things that happen that are outside of their control. And I do think that if Dylan Raiola goes to Nebraska to play, his uncle won't even coach him. He's just there on campus. That's a big deal. I do believe to him, his family, it would make a lot of sense if Nebraska was able to lure, recruit, and get a commitment from Dylan Raiola. Ohio State's back to the drawing board. They offered the number one quarterback in the class of 2025, Bryce J. Underwood. But 2024 still has no quarterback. I do think Ryan Day, Corey Dennis, and whoever the new OC is going to be will be busy trying to figure out what quarterback fits Ohio State the best. Speaking of who fits Ohio State the best in this decommitment from Dylan Raiola, some people might think this is a new trend of quarterbacks or just athletes in general decommitting and flipping at the rate that they are. But let's dig a little bit deeper and see, well, this might be going on a lot longer than people think it has been. We'll discuss it and inform us about what has been going on lately at Ohio State with recruiting, the flipping of recruits, things of that nature, right here on Locked on Buckeyes. This episode is brought to you by LinkedIn Jobs. These days, every new potential hire can feel like a high-stakes wager for your small business. You want to be 100% certain that you have access to the best qualified candidates available. That's why you have to check out LinkedIn Jobs. LinkedIn Jobs helps you find the right people for your team faster and for free. It's free. easy, and quick to create a job post on LinkedIn Jobs. Once your job post is created, add the purple hashtag hiring frame to your LinkedIn profile to spread the word that you're hiring. Simple tools like screening questions make it easy to focus on candidates with just the right skills and experience so you can quickly prioritize who you'd like to interview and hire. It's why small businesses rate LinkedIn Jobs #1 in delivering quality hires versus leading competitors. LinkedIn Jobs helps you find the qualified candidates you want to talk to faster. Post your job for free at linkedin.com/lockedoncollege. That's linkedin.com/lockedoncollege to post your job for free. Terms and conditions apply. Thanks for making Locked On Buckeyes your first listen of the day. Make sure to check out Locked On Sports Today. Locked On Sports Today it comes at you with the biggest stories around the sports world in 20 minutes or less. Plus instant reactions, big game recaps, and Locked On's take of the day. Locked On Sports Today, available on YouTube and wherever you get your fine podcasts. So, the decommitment of Dylan Raiola is shocking. Shocking to everybody. Remember, there was a corner. I believe his name was Dijon Johnson. His name always escapes me, even when I'm doing a show about him. I butcher it, so forgive me if I messed it up at that time. There was a cornerback decommitment at Ohio State this year. I believe Mark Fletcher, running back from South Florida, decommitted from Ohio State. There was someone else recently, Ty Lockwood, decommitted, went down to Alabama. There are a lot of people out there that are saying, what's going on with the decommitments at this school? They aren't even trying to tie in the NIL aspect and the NIL tie that Ohio State should be beating schools in when it comes to why Ohio State is not getting all the recruits. They're just saying, what's going on? Are they recruiting right? What's going on here? I think a few things before I get into this. The depth chart needs to be looked at and say, how quickly can kids get on the field? Another thing, not just decommitment, not just the depth chart. Is a guy going to go to the NFL or not? I mean, the depth chart at his school is one thing, but also if guys don't go to the NFL, that's going to be a logjam at a certain position. And then that player who says, "Oh, I'll get in a backup role, maybe third string role my freshman year." Now it's a fifth string role, and like, oh, I don't want to go there. I want to go somewhere where I can play quicker and get on the field shortly after I get to campus. So those are things that are reality. Coaching changes, those things happen. Position coaching changes, not just head coaching, but position coaching changes, those things factor into it as well. But when it comes to the quarterback position specifically, some might think this is a flash in the pan. This is or this recruiting. This is something that's rare. It's not as rare as you think. If you go back even to 2018, when Day was, I think Ryan Day coached team there, Urban's last year. Ryan Day was on the coaching staff, OC, and had a big hand in the quarterbacks. We see there have been players that have been flipped, even on signing day, which is forced Ohio State to go out and try to get another quarterback after that. 2018. I can go recently, go to 2022, talk about how in 2022, the Buckeyes, let's go recent. Let's not go back further. Let's go recent. In 2022, the Buckeyes believed they had the #1 quarterback in that recruiting class committed to their school. They did, but he reclassified to the 2021 recruiting class, Quinn Ewers, that is. What happens next? They have no quarterback in that class. Next thing that happens in 2022, Devin Brown decommits from USC shortly after Clay Helton is fired from USC, and Ohio State goes out and gets the young man, the 4-star quarterback from Utah. And I have said for a while, from what I saw from Devin Brown in high school and what I saw from Quinn Ewers in high school, I don't understand why Devin Brown was not the higher-rated quarterback. Excuse me. Yes, I do. One plays in Texas, one plays in Utah. High school football is king in Texas. They make movies about it, TV shows about it. We understand how people view the football in Utah, not the way they view the football in Texas. Quinn Ewers reclassifies. Devin Brown, the Buckeyes. Devin Brown decommits from USC. Ultimately, he commits to Ohio State. In 2021, the Buckeyes are once again going after quarterbacks, and that's when Kyle McCord comes to Ohio State. I believe they flipped him from a school as well. That is not on my page, but you're seeing you get Kyle McCord, but you have to work to get him there. In 2020, there were two quarterbacks, Jack Miller III and CJ Stroud. The thought was not to get two quarterbacks, but then a quarterback in Tathan Martell. That's what I called him to my friends. I believe his real name is Tate. I don't even know if Tathan is his government name, but that's just something I have said for quite a long time. He transfers. So sometimes you don't get guys that flip from your school to another. You get a transfer from a kid who was already on campus on your team, and he transfers for playing time and really not progressing and being the quarterback. Some thought he would be in college. You get a transfer from Tate Martell. Next thing you know, what happens? You end up going after and getting Jack Miller III and CJ Stroud. It's unfortunate. Jack Miller III ended up starting for Florida, and they got mollywopped in the bowl game on Saturday, 30-3, and the Gators continue a long, weird streak of scoring in consistent games. I think it's like 300-plus games in a row that they have scored in. I'm like, goodness gracious, that program. Like, that's a nice streak. It'd be nice if they had some more wins as well. 2019. The Buckeyes thought they had the quarterback in the bag. Ryan Day's head coach. Ryan Day's been recruiting with Urban Meyer. In 2019, that recruiting class, DeJuan Mathis flipped to Georgia on signing day. Think about that one. We all know things are not solidified until there's pen to paper. Everyone knows that. Contracts. I probably said this on this podcast too many times. I used to sell cars. And I knew a deal was not done, honestly, until you drive off the lot. But honestly, most of the time, if you sign those papers, it's rare for you to not take the keys and drive off the lot with the car. But, man, sometimes you have to, hey, man, just sign this paper, man. You can leave with your car right now. Now I got to go. You are prolonging your own gift to yourself. Sign this paper so you can get out. Now, I was not talking like that, just not saying that. But in my mind, people prolong and take some time to sign the paper. And I'm wondering, hey, man, I got to put food on my table. I got bills to pay. I need to sell this car so I can do the things that I want to do in my life. Same thing with the Buckeyes. DeJuan Mathis ended up being flipping to Georgia on signing day. In the 2018 recruiting class, Emory Jones flipped to Florida on signing day. The Buckeyes ended up flipping Matt Baldwin from Colorado State. And so maybe it was a little bit worse, a little bit different back then. 2018, 2019, a little weird, but you had a reclassification of Quinn Ewers. You had a transfer of Tate Martell. You had DeJuan Mathis and Emory Jones flipping on signing day. Hey, man, this is the nature of the beast. And as players get more tapped in to the technology and they could get more connected and they connect with more people, ultimately, this could happen year after year after year, and that maybe more frequently than it has. This is a sport. This is college football. This is something we have to get used to and realize. Players are going to decommit. Players are going to commit. Players are going to flip on signing day. It's going to happen. Yes, we'll talk about this with John Garcia Jr., Locked On Recruiting Insider, the next time we're able to get him on the show. And yes, Ohio State is not going to stop recruiting because recruiting never stops. What did stop was the Buckeyes' chances of winning their game on Saturday against North Carolina. Shooting 2 for 10 in overtime was a big reason why. But there were other things that went wrong for the Buckeyes in their showdown with the Tar Heels in Madison Square Garden. We'll discuss what happened next right here on Locked On Buckeyes. This episode is brought to you by BetOnline. BetOnline. BetOnline.net is your number one source for sports betting info, stats, news, and analysis. Get the latest odds and trends for every professional and amateur league out there, from pro football to college bowl season to basketball and the World Cup. We've got it all at BetOnline.net. And if you love sports podcasts, you can even find those at BetOnline as well. We're always the fastest and the easiest way to get your betting info. Head to the website today or use your mobile device to learn more about the trends and action. BetOnline, where the game starts. This episode is also brought to you by our good friends at Billiards Plus. Billiards Plus has the best selection of pool tables, game tables, shuffleboard tables, and more, and the best service in Central Ohio. Billiards Plus also can set you up with a brand new top-of-the-line grill that will last for generations. We all know how hard it is with the supply chain issues this year and getting certain things shipped on time. So when it comes to ordering that one big gift for Christmas, check out Billiards Plus and get there early this year. Pick something out and get it shipped in time for Christmas. It's a gift the whole family will enjoy year-round. Billiards Plus carries the best pool tables from Brunswick, Ohio, Canada Billiards, and more. Plus, top-of-the-line grills from PK, Napoleon, Memphis, and Le Griddle. That will be the last grill you own. Seriously, these grills stand the test of time. No matter the season, Billiards Plus has you covered for all your indoor and outdoor entertainment needs. Visit their showroom on Dublin Center Drive in Dublin. Check them out at billiards-plus.com. Billiards Plus, family owned and operated for generations. There was a showdown, a tough contest on Saturday afternoon in Madison Square Garden, the CBS Sports Classic, the opening game when Ohio State, North Carolina, Kentucky, and UCLA are up for grabs and they're playing in the game. The opening game for the day was Ohio State and North Carolina. The Buckeyes, 2 losses coming into the game. The Tar Heels, 4 losses coming into the game. The Buckeyes are filled with transfers and freshmen that have been flourishing. The Tar Heels, Armando Bacot, Caleb Love, RJ Davis, they have their own big-headed, 3-headed monster of their own. The Buckeyes took a 44-35 lead into the halftime break, where at halftime, it surely seemed like if the Buckeyes continued what they were doing, they would have the upper hand. They shot. The Buckeyes were doing phenomenal things. Shot 53% from the field in the first half. From downtown, 47% for 3. Abysmal 33% from the free throw line, but honestly, they didn't get that many trips there, so that's why the numbers were so low. The Tar Heels, on the other hand, in the first half, shot 42% from the field, 11% from 3. Defensively, the Buckeyes are pushing and forcing the pace. The Tar Heels, if it wasn't for Armando Bacot, they would have been down 20 going at the halftime after the first 20 minutes of play. The second half happened, and then we realized who was going to show up and who was going to step up for each team. Bryce Sensabaugh in the second half had 10 points for the Buckeyes, but Armando Bacot, Caleb Love, Leaky Black's length, RJ Davis, they were just too much for the Buckeyes. As the Buckeyes ended up going in, the Buckeyes tied it up late in the game. North Carolina was down by 14 points at one point in the second half. And then next thing you know, they just keep chipping away. The Buckeyes had they were struggling to take care of the ball. Their inability to make stops, consistent stops for the Tar Heels, who are really, really talented and are coached by a good coach, Andy Hubert Davis. Those were a couple things. And then honestly, their energy and effort. They kept the same energy and effort of the first half and took care of the ball more. That would have been a great way for the Buckeyes to win this contest, which even late, I didn't think was going to go into overtime. Zed Key hits a 3 to bring the game close again. Carolina scores. Bryce Sensabaugh uses his old man game. Pop. Ties the game up. No. Buckeyes take the lead on Bryce Sensabaugh's shot. And I said, oh, no. Oh, goodness. There are some onions here from Bryce Sensabaugh, and we can use that onions phrase when Bill Raftery is on the call. The next thing you know, the Buckeyes go down and let Pete Nance get a shot off when you thought there's no way the Buckeyes allow somebody to get a shot off. I believe there were 1.2 seconds left in the game. Tar Heels had the ball at the other end of the court, throw the ball to half court, really with no interference, call timeout. Somehow they get the ball from one side of half court to the bottom portion of the court near the three-point line. Inside of that thing, Pete Nance goes up, shoots the ball. It goes in overtime. The Buckeyes struggled with the ball and the basket. They shot 2 for 10. And even if they had got more stops, they took care of the ball more, the energy and effort was up. If you shoot 2 for 10 in overtime, there's a good shot you're going to lose the game unless you're playing sticky, great, phenomenal defense. That was not the case, and the Buckeyes lose a close game that had a March Madness-type feel to it in Madison Square Garden in December. I think what Chris Holtmann has done with building the preseason schedule this way has properly prepared this team in a great way to not build chemistry, figure out who your go-to players are, but to also help you be more prepared for league play and for those neutral site games in March. I think that might be an issue. Honestly, no, I'm not going to say it's been an issue, because the team just ends up failing and falling and embarrassing themselves in the NCAA tournament. But I think Holtmann is realizing, taking a page maybe somewhat more from Gonzaga's head coach Mark Few's book. Play tougher games in the non-conference. It's not going to hurt you. It's just going to better help you and prepare you for the NCAA tournament at the end of the season. I personally think this basketball team is going to be good. Good. Will they win the Big Ten regular season crown or the conference tournament? That's something I'm not going to put my finger on and stamp it in right now. But ultimately, I do think Justice Suing playing better, Zed Key being somebody who can beat you outside and with a three-point shot, Bryce Sensabaugh, Bruce Thornton. I think when they get Isaac Likely back on the court, this team will be scary in Big Ten play. We're out of here on a Monday. Said we're going to get into more ball. Dylan Raiola decommitted. Had to touch on that one because that's really important. You can follow me on Twitter at jstevens07. You can send all of your emails to jstevens317@gmail.com. I hope you got all of your Christmas shopping done. I think I have one more gift, or a couple more to buy. One more gift to buy while recording the show. It will be it'll be bought very, very soon. Hope all your gifts are done. Last minute Christmas shopping can get hectic. And I hope everyone keeps their mentals intact if they go out shopping during the week. Out of here on a Monday. We'll be back tomorrow to talk more about your Ohio State football team.